Class, how do we date? How do we date in our culture, in our society? In theory, we are free to date whomever we please. In theory, we select someone that we would like to go out on a date with. In theory, we say yes or no to an invitation to go out on a date. But sociologically, is that the reality in our culture? Sociologically, no, that's not the reality at all. Sociologically, the reality is that the individuals we date largely are based on some very specific social variables such as looks, educational level, religious beliefs, occupational status, and these particular variables are found in what sociologists call the marketplace of relationships. The marketplace of relationships, think about it like a grocery store or a market. When we go to the market, when we go shopping, we are looking for specific items. We may even have a list. And as we shop in the marketplace, we check off that list, making sure that we've picked up the items that we need. Well, sociologists talk about dating in a similar regard. That is to suggest this, that each of us has a list, if you will, of commodities, of variables, of components that we want in a potential mate. Somebody that we can go out on a date with, or multiple dates, that we can date for a long period of time, potentially. Those commodities, those variables, those components include, as previously mentioned, things such as looks, physical appearance, money, humor, education, religion. Whatever these commodities are, we check off or cross off variables that an individual possesses that we've gone out on a date with. In this marketplace, we are using the social exchange theory. We are exchanging goods and services with other goods and services. We are creating a list, essentially, of positive things that we see in an individual that would cause us to date them, and negative things that would cause us not to date them. Humor may be one of those things that you want and have on your marketplace relationships list. Then again, maybe it's not. Maybe it's social status, income levels. We exchange these commodities and variables along the way as we date. So you begin to date someone, and let's assume after a little while of dating, you discover that they have a bad habit of chewing with their mouth open. All right, well, that may not be a big deal, but then again, it might be. Maybe it's not a big deal because the person that you're dating has lots of money and looks great. They're very attractive. They're smart, and they got a great family. But if chewing with their mouth open trumps all of those other things, then you're likely to break up with them. That's the social exchange theory. That's what the theory suggests we, at a micro level, do in the marketplace of relationships. Additionally, when thinking about dating contemporarily, we certainly need to think about pool of eligibles. Pool of eligibles. Pool of eligibles is the concept that sociologists develop, talk about, study, that suggests that at any given point in time in our lives, there's a pool of individuals that are acceptable for us to date. When I say acceptable, I'm implying that they are acceptable socially, that our friends and family members say, hey, yeah, that's a good person for you to date. It must be clarified here that if our friends and family do not like the person or the individuals that we date in our lifetimes, it's most likely that we're going to end the relationship. Yeah, there's always the exception. Yeah, there's always people that say, I don't care what my family and friends say. I'm in love with this particular person, and I'm going to continue to be in love with them and date them. But for most of us, the social influence by others is more important and is stronger than our individual choices. All right, so looking at pool of eligibles, the people that we can choose today. Our pool of eligibles when we're young is really, really big. Think about an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Maybe even think about the ocean. You can go swimming in the ocean. There's lots of room. What I'm suggesting is this. When we're young, we tend to have lots of people to choose from. But as we get older, our pool of eligibles begins to shrink. Why does it shrink? It shrinks because people pair up. It shrinks because people marry. It shrinks because people exit the pool. They get out of the pool. They go sunbathing or something. They go get a drink or something, right? So they are exiting the pool. They're not someone that we can choose to date, in other words. When you think about the pool of eligibles, it has historically included only other individuals of your opposite sex, of your same race, of your same ethnic background, of pretty much your same age, because we are most likely to date individuals that are close to us in age, usually 0 to 5 years, with almost always the man being a little bit older. So our pool of eligibles has historically been very homogenized. However, today, there's more heterogeneity when it comes to our pool of eligibles. We have people that may be from a different racial background, different ethnic background, certainly different ages, certainly religious backgrounds. There are individuals in our pool of eligibles contemporarily that are much more diverse than we are. So our pool is actually very, very diverse as compared to the past. When we think about dating and the individuals that we choose to date from our pool of eligibles, how are we dating? Is it the same as it was in the 1950s? The answer is no. Dating has changed tremendously. And that's one of our concentrations this week. How has dating contemporarily changed in the United States from the past? Online dating. Online dating certainly is no longer taboo. What once was taboo, no longer a taboo. The reason for that, in part, is because so many people are doing it. As more and more people engage in a particular behavioral pattern, the stigma associated with it tends to reduce. This is true for online dating. In fact, so true is that if you're young, especially young, and single in our contemporary culture and society, if you're not online dating, well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you? Why aren't you on the dating sites? And there are multiple dating sites. In fact, you can find a dating site pretty much for any niche kind of behavioral pattern that you're attracted to. You can find it online. Specifically, the marketplace of relationships, online dating. You can go into that marketplace and find what you're exactly looking for, go online and find a date. Also, hookup culture. Hookup culture has been historically associated with Gen Xers. Gen Xers are individuals that are in their late 30s into their late 40s, early 50s currently. Gen Xers really started this hookup culture back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. But the hookup culture has shifted as well. It's changed too. So no longer, contemporarily, are we really calling it hookup culture. Now, it is true we use this term still, but my point is this. The change is we're now referring to the hookup culture as Netflix and chill. Netflix and chill. It's the same thing as the basic understanding and principles of the hookup culture. There is something going on sexually. Anything from kissing and cuddling all the way to sexual intercourse. There's something going on in that regard physically. But you don't necessarily have a deep emotional connection to the individual that you're hanging out with, that you're hooking up with. Specifically, Netflix and chill. You think about Netflix and the movies, chilling out, hanging out. Well, that has taken on a new meaning. Netflix and chill refers to individuals getting together to watch a movie and just chill out. But really, there may not be a movie, and there's probably not a lot of chilling out, except in a sexual way. So there may be at least the Netflix queued up on the TV, but maybe no one's watching because they're engaged in sexual activity. Again, there's no emotional connection necessarily. It's a hookup. So, thinking about dating, how do we do it? How do we date? And how we contemporarily date, is it emotionally good for us? Functionally, is it good for us? Is there any quality associated with how we date any longer? And certainly from a symbolic perspective, Netflix, is there a lot of understanding and interpretation about contemporary dating and thus a response to how we date? Is there a lot of interpretation based on symbols that exist within our society, within our culture? That's one of our focuses this week. As is this, dating. Has it changed? Absolutely. Think about how dating has changed. Continuing the conversations that I've started in this week's video. Looking forward to your conversations, your sociological analysis of dating over the course of the week.